Hello there, friends. This is Justin, host and producer of Rock Hard Caucus. I just got back to Coralville from Des Moines. We had a nice day spent at the Iowa State Fair. But the episode of this podcast that you're about to listen to is almost entirely not about the State Fair, because I was over at Evan's place last night, and we recorded the show last night before we went to the fair. But I just wanted to preface this episode to implore you to please listen to the very end of this podcast. You're going to hear closing music at the end, and then right after that, at the very, very end of this podcast, you will hear a very brief interaction between Evan and myself and a candidate for United States Congress. A congressional candidate answered a question that I asked them. I'll be mysterious with the pronoun, so you don't know exactly who we're talking about. I don't want to hype this up too much, because it's not like an explosive. You're not going to be like surprised by the answer that you hear. But I don't know that you will have heard this person say this before. It won't be super unexpected, but it's there. We asked, they answered. I would like everyone to hear that, so please listen to the end. And with that, here we go. And I don't have the theme music ready on anything, I don't think, to play. So I'm just
oh my god!
We'll put that in post. Unless you want to try.
Normally, when we record, you
music.
play the theme music for me right before we start.
Yeah, I play it every time.
Gets me in the mood.
I have done that in situations where we are in person, though. I have done that.
I don't remember, but
I think I did
makes
that
sense.
For last year's State Fair episodes. I think.
Did you remix it or something?
I don't know. I don't know. Did you hear your laptop ding a minute ago?
No.
Okay, whatever.
Did it ding?
I hope it happens again, and I'm keeping it in.
It's on a separate track, right?
Yeah, it's multi-track.
Oh,
so
okay.
I
can make it
ding. I
ding.
could take it out, but I'm not going to take it out.
I can make it ding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the wrong one.
Yeah, just like
there
that.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay, so here it is. This is Rock Hard Caucus. I believe this is our 159th episode.
Yes. According to your notes, it is the 159th episode.
Yeah, I'm here at Evan's place. We're trying a new setup where Evan pulls up all of the show articles on a laptop, and we sit here together to do the episode together. Technically, we're starting the Sunday streak again.
True.
We're recording on Sunday.
True.
This probably won't be out until either late Monday or probably Tuesday. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. But I'm here in Des Moines. We're getting ready to go to the fair tomorrow. But I found all these articles that made me laugh, so I wanted to record something before we go to the fair.
Yeah.
But at the fair, do you have any dreams and desires for things that we might experience at the fair this year?
Well, the only thing I think we've really planned is that you want to ask Lanon Bakam about Gaza.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're going to get a really satisfying answer. Not, but other than that, no, just hang out.
Yeah, I don't know of any other important, candidates who will be present, but
yeah,
if we're lucky, Rick Stewart, we'll talk to him again.
I would love to see Rick Stewart again.
Yeah.
I love him.
I want to talk to him about his former running mate, Marco Battaglia.
Yep.
I don't think I've ever said his name on the show.
Yeah, we missed him today. We could have gone today and seen him.
Yeah. Do you know if I'm saying his last name
I
right?
don't know.
Okay. Well, Marco, I don't know if you actually listen to the show, but you do talk to us online.
He's one of the most online guys. He's really trying to earn every vote, really trying to make sure that the Libertarians stay a quote-unquote major political party.
Yeah.
By crossing, the 2% threshold? Is that what it is?
Yeah, they have ballot access because of that. And I want to ask Rick Stewart about the recent news that both Marco and... I don't remember his name, but there's a libertarian in, I think, the 4th district who's also, this is happening to him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's Republicans challenging their ballot listing.
Yeah, it's Alan Ostergaard again.
Yeah. Ostergren.
Ostergren, yeah.
I think Ostergren.
The official lawyer of the Iowa GOP.
Yeah.
Does all their dirty work for them.
He's represented like the mama bears and shit too. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Gavin Aronson for keeping me abreast of Alan Ostergren activities.
But yeah, I guess the issue is that they didn't have like a libertarian county convention in every county.
Right.
Which is what is required of a quote unquote major political party.
Yeah, I didn't look into whether that's true or not. I can't imagine that really
seems
matters,
crazy.
Right? Like, this is not a party that can put on a convention in every county in the state.
Decatur County Libertarian. Actually, there's probably a lot in Decatur County.
I don't know. I mean, they have ballot access. They select their candidates. I think how the party selects their candidates is kind of their own business.
Yeah.
You know, Democratic or anti-democratic, whatever. And
I'm sure they put a lot of effort into choosing Marco to be their candidate, like, obviously.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just that he, like, asked for it like 100,000 times.
Yeah, so I want to ask about that. And I also want to ask Rick Stewart if he's going to vote for Chase Oliver or Donald Trump. Because last year when we talked to him, he was pretty satisfied with all of the Republican presidential candidates that we'd been listening to with him.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's like, we are a red state, so I think he can throw his vote away to Chase Oliver if he wants to, without any impact.
That's his right. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I guess the candidates that we saw were the less Trumpy candidates, but DeSantis was there.
Well,
and they're all kind
Larry
of
Elder.
Fucking Trumpy.
Yeah, Larry Elder, I think, was probably
for sure.
the most.
Oh, yeah, and he specifically shouted out Larry Elder because he really likes the idea that he lifted himself up by his own bootstraps.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's for later. You know, I'm going to bring my little portable recorder, see if we can get some interviews tomorrow. But before we get there, I think we should talk about the mysterious structure first. Because we kind of teased that.
We've been
at the end of that
forgetting to talk about the mysterious structure for a bit.
I'm going to pull up my notes on my phone here too, because I have some timestamps for this video that I thought were good. Okay, so this is the latest. We're a little behind on this. KCRG put this out on July 26th. And the article is called "The City of Cedar Rapids Takes Legal Action Against Mysterious Structure." Now, it is... I
like it's just mysterious structure. It's just like, that's just the name of it. It's not the mysterious structure in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. It's just mysterious structure.
Or a mysterious structure.
Or a mysterious structure.
Yeah.
That would probably be more mysterious if it was a mysterious structure.
Implying that there could be more than one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I have been by the mysterious structure since this article came out, and it was still there. But that was at least a week ago, probably closer to 2 weeks ago. I don't know what the current status as of August 11th. I don't know what the status of the structure is. Still mysterious, probably, but I don't know if it's
the status. It's a mystery what the status of the mysterious structure is.
So, I like the video that they put out with this. So this was on TV.
Yeah, it's right. I-9 investigation. This is what they pay local reporters. Like, this is the type of investigative journalism that they do.
Yeah. So if you just want to hit play on that, the way that they started is very funny.
Investigation. Cedar Rapids is taking action against that, the glowing, mysterious structure in a neighborhood.
That.
Now, when we spoke with the structure's owner, he told us it's a...
So the image that they showed, again, they want to kind of like, this is not fair to the mysterious structure and to the mysterious structure's owners, because I've been there at night more than once. The lights were not on. I think that he stopped doing the bright lights thing.
Smart move.
Once people complained.
Yeah.
But every time that they talk about it, they show this image of this super bright, like, UFO. And they're misrepresenting what the structure is all about at this point, I think.
Do you think Rick Stewart knows about the mysterious structure?
I'll put that on the list.
To talk about him about this.
I'll put that on the list.
Because I feel like he would be incensed at what's happening.
Yeah, and he is a Cedar Rapids resident.
Yeah, true. I remember him from back in the day. His little van that had the legalize weed signs on it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he still lives there, so he's got to know about this structure.
Yeah, he lives in Wellington Heights.
Yeah.
He's a man of the people.
So by showing the super bright lights, they're trying to sway their audience to oppose the mysterious structure, and it's not fair.
Yeah.
So I feel like we need to kind of advocate for the structure a little bit. Can you go to like 50 seconds into the video?
In the middle of a Cedar Rapids neighborhood sits a tower that stretches about 20 feet into the air.
Her and the lady next door have been wondering what monstrosity that he was putting up.
It's a source of confusion for passersby and more controversy than the creator bargained for.
It's far away from neighbors. We have no one that's going to come, they say the complaint, and we have code. We violate zero code.
Dillara Rodham built the tower.
Okay.
When I asked him and his company's business director...
So we saw one of the neighbors calling this a monstrosity, and then we saw the owner who was pleading his case. They have they have not violated any building codes. That's his position on this. Okay, maybe I'll hold my comment until we see a little bit more from the neighbor. Do you want to skip to about 1:40 into this video?
Our I-9 investigation found the city has sent 2 notices and has done 4 inspections starting in April. And Dillara Rodham says the city wasn't being honest.
We did nothing wrong to them. But if they want to take it down, that's okay, they can do it. But the main problem, I don't like people to lie.
His website, under the name CC Energy, shows the structure and invites countries like Argentina, Canada, and India to apply for a megawatt pilot project. Cedar Rapids issued a final notice of violation, and the next step is notifying the city attorney to file a municipal infraction.
I don't see a building permit nowhere on there, and I didn't see one while you're building that.
Here's the neighbor again.
And it looks like crap, honestly.
William Forrester walked up during our interview and confronted Dillara Rodham about the structure.
Cool.
That's just a monstrosity. He didn't ask nobody in the neighborhood if it was okay to put up for one.
The owner was vague on if he'd actually take it down.
Okay, so this really is turning me into a libertarian.
Did you look into the building codes?
I have not really dug into like the actual like what the city has, like what kind of notices they've given him, what they're threatening to do, what he has allegedly violated here. But the news was there interviewing the owner of the mysterious structure, right? And this neighbor, they said just now, we were talking over, but the neighbor just like wandered up to them and started like interjecting.
Yeah. It's an area lawn worker.
And he's like, well, you didn't ask permission from the neighbors to do that. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, effectively, it's like a shed. It's tall. I guess maybe the only thing that's mysterious about it is that it's shaped weird and it's kind of tall.
It's bright.
But it's not that big, really.
Yeah, it's a little bit taller than the building it's next to. Yeah, I just okay. I'm gonna make this claim. I think there's a little bit of racism going on.
I think you might be right.
Like the owner, he's a black man. He's got kind of like an African accent, and all the neighbors are like, "This is ugly as hell. You didn't ask us permission to put this up. It looks like crap." And then I think the first KCRG report, they talked to a neighbor, and she said, "It's making the neighborhood look terrible."
No, it's putting your neighborhood on the map.
It's true.
Like, no one cares about what northeast.
Yeah, it's over by Elmcrest, the golf course.
Oh.
Yeah,
southeast side, or posted on the southeast side for life.
And the building that he now occupies, where his business is, used to be a daycare, which was closed. So there used to be a daycare there. It's been sitting vacant. I don't know how long. So what looks better for your neighborhood? A big building where children used to be welcome that is now empty? or a building where people are doing are advancing science.
Yeah, doing serious entrepreneurial stuff.
Yeah, and
he's trying to
clean energy to the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was unfortunate he didn't list any BRICS countries as the countries that he's trying to sell to. Well, I guess he did say India, right?
I don't remember. I remember they said Argentina.
Yeah, that's, no. You don't want to sell them.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess I've been keeping an eye out for more news on this. I don't know what the city's going to do. I don't know is there going to be an opportunity for like people from Iowa City to go up there and rally behind the mysterious structure. Like, obviously his immediate neighbors, at least 2 of them on the record, dislike the structure and are honestly kind of persecuting him.
Yeah.
So I think we need some intervention from
yeah, we need people to chain themselves to the structure.
This is a call to action. We need to save the structure, everyone. Okay, so yeah, we're on the side of mysterious structure and all of the hope that it's giving to humanity. Let's move on to some other news that's a little bit less important. Did you want to go back to that Rob Sand article? I know that you had some thoughts on that.
It's pretty funny.
Okay. So this is a Bleeding Heartland article by Laura Bellin. I don't know, how critical are you going to be about this?
I just think it's funny that he's like pandering so hard once again. I mean, that's kind of his whole thing, but he's trying to. He's a good Norwegian Lutheran boy from Decorah. I guess where was he speaking? He was with Andy Bashir,
governor of
third
Kentucky.
runner-up to the vice presidential choice. Mm-hmm. But it was at the Iowa Democratic Party's Liberty and Justice celebration. Gross, given the circumstances of what Democrats are doing about liberty and justice right now across the country or across the world. Lead us not into temptation is a big piece of his life because growing up in the Sand family in Decorah, we didn't just say grace, we sang it. Have you ever heard of this in your life?
Let's see here. Okay, and to be clear, I did not read this article ahead of time. The title is Lead Us Not Into Temptation, How Rob Sand Weaves Faith in Politics. And Laura Bellin published this a couple weeks ago. We were looking at talking about this with the last episode, like sort of weaving it into the J.D. Vance stuff.
Because Rob Sand is the Democrat J.D. Vance, basically.
Yeah, how are they alike?
They're both cravenly ambitious white boys from, I don't think Rob Sand's family is like super duper rich. He married into his riches.
The family he was born into, I don't believe is super well off, but,
They're both models. They, both don't have any actual principles, and they're willing to shift them around for their own benefit to attain a higher level of power.
Yeah, I think Vance is very, very clearly guilty of that. Once the national spotlight was on him, prior to 5 years ago.
I mean,
everything he said.
Yeah, we're going to give Rob a little bit more credit and say he hasn't quite, he hasn't reached the cravenness levels of J.D. Vance yet. But I think there's potential there. Okay,
so back to this thing that we were reading. Growing up in the Sand family in Decorah, we didn't just say grace, we sang it. So what is he saying there? That they
really loved. They really, really wanted that dinner.
So before every meal, they were singing their praise?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, food must have been fire.
Yeah, and this is, an uncle was a pastor in the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America.
Yeah, the ELCA, they're not that bad. I went to Wartburg, so I'm familiar a little bit with them. Yeah. They're whatever. We don't have to get into Lutheran versus Methodist
let's get into it a little bit.
See, I just went there.
Rock Hard Caucus, if you don't know, is a
pro-Methodist.
This is a Methodist podcast. We are on the side of Methodism 100%. I wish Natalie was here to back me up on this. Methodists and Lutherans, complete total opposites.
Yeah. He's got a son with his wife named Axel, and his wife suggested it, and he said, I did what every good husband does when they hear an idea from the wife that they don't like. I kept my mouth shut. After the audience laughed, he went on, but then I did what every good Norwegian Lutheran boy from Decorah does, and I looked it up in the big book of Scandinavian names, and it meant Father of Peace, and I couldn't say no, because instantly I thought about the Sermon on the Mount. Blessed are the peacekeepers, for they will be called children of God. Like, this is just so over the top.
Well, my mind goes to if I was having a kid and my wife suggested the name Axel, I'd be like, well, yeah, fucking Guns N' Roses kicks ass.
For sure.
We're going for it. I don't need to look it up in any kind of book, like Bible.
Yeah.
No, man.
Your son's going to be in a motorcycle gang, and that's cool as shit.
This is from the Bible of rock and roll.
Yeah, this is the part that I found the funniest, is he is talking here about how his staff that he hired when he became auditor includes on his leadership team a Democrat, a Republican, and an independent.
I've heard this a million fucking
times. He loves
this is like
to
his
talk
number
about
one
this.
thing. This
I
and the skate
hired
park.
a Republican and the skate park, for sure.
Yeah, this and the skate park.
Two of those people had made contributions to his opponent in the 2018 auditor race.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I do that? That's crazy. But I think we're supposed to turn the other cheek, he said. Another reference to the Sermon on the Mount, which is the funniest thing to me in this article. The idea that someone donating money to someone other than him is like a personal like insult or
being
offense.
Slapped in the face. Yeah. Because turning the other cheek is what, like, Jesus is saying. If someone strikes you on the face,
yes,
rather than fight back, you turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I'm kind of...
So not voting for Rob Sand is effectively hitting him in the face, according to what he thinks.
Yeah. Which means that I've hit him in the face a couple times.
Yeah, we've, unfortunately, yeah, we're against violence. Well, I don't know about Justin, but...
That's what I call political violence.
See, I'm the turn the other cheek guy. Like, I'm all about that.
Not voting for Democrats is political violence.
Yes. That's really all I have
I'm
to say.
I'm kind of, you know, sometimes Jesus had the right idea. I don't know about the turn the other cheek thing.
It depends maybe on the context. I don't know if you should really be applying that to like geopolitical things or, you know, politics in general. But as a personal, you know, it's a good way to preserve your relationships, I guess.
Yeah, if you make it a little bit more metaphorical, like, you know,
yeah,
don't hold. You can't just be
you can't just be a pushover.
Yeah, and don't constantly be reacting.
Yeah,
you know, don't immediately jump to retaliation.
Yeah,
I do think that that's probably good. Yeah, not necessarily like, oh, hit me again. I think Jesus just sort of like he was into pain a little bit. Yeah. I mean, you know what ended up happening to him, right? His whole existence was pretty much just for the purpose of being painfully killed.
Yeah,
you know?
for everyone.
And he knew the whole time.
He sacrificed.
He knew that's what he was destined for.
He was out there grinding.
And he did it. He wanted it.
Yeah, he did. Sand said that he's been thinking a lot about Republican-controlled legislature and Governor Dunn have done to lead others into temptation.
What?
And his reference to that is the school voucher program, private school vouchers. So they're tempting people to go to a private school, and that's leading others into temptation. This is just so tortured. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, this one doesn't work very well. I think
none of it works.
It's got kind of like the cause and effect backwards, sort of like, because the state did the voucher thing because that's what private schools and the rich families who went to private schools wanted.
Also, like, a lot of government policy is kind of like about like tempting people into making certain choices. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know like what the fuck you're supposed to take from this. Other than, I mean, Rob Sand is a Democrat and he really loves God and he's a good guy, and the Republicans they're anti-God, even though they say they love him.
Let me read that a little bit there. Stay on the temptation thing. This is something Rob said. Do you know how many things you can't do as a private school when you get tax dollars that used to go to a public school in the state of Iowa? Just one. That's it. There's only one thing you can't do. You can't give a rebate. Think of something else, Sand said. Some terrible, totally inappropriate thing that could get a public school employee fired or even charged with the crime. You can do that in a private school now. That's getting tax dollars. Are we not leading them into temptation by letting them do things that they know they shouldn't do? So
you could do something terrible or totally inappropriate that could get a public school employee fired or even charged with a crime. What?
Yeah,
what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, where does your mind go? Because he's not saying explicitly what kind of crime he's talking about, but what do school employees do that's terrible and totally inappropriate? I mean, I know what I've seen several teachers do.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's probably what he's referring to.
Yeah.
But like, I think he's saying that there's like which there have been like false accusations about like whatever, like grooming kids or whatever the fucking Republicans are fucking going nuts over. I think that's probably what he's referring to, but like,
what is he saying? You can do that in a private school now.
This is a speech for other Democrats too. Like,
I guess.
Like, Jesus.
The school vouchers makes it okay for you to like abuse kids in a private school.
Yeah,
and we're tempting them to do that by giving them money.
Like, what the fuck is this? Are we? Then he's talking about water. You know, the defunding water quality sensors. Are we not leading people into temptation by telling them it doesn't matter what's in the water? People are going to drink water. I don't need to be tempted into like.
Yeah, okay. Again, it feels like it's kind of backwards. Like, the problem with the water is that agriculture is allowed to dump whatever they want on the land, and then the runoff goes into the water because they're not really mitigating it. They're doing whatever they want in order to maximize profits, right? Somehow we're tempting them into doing that.
Tempting people into drinking dirty water because they really don't have any other choice. I mean, I guess there's bottled water.
I think he's saying that we're tempting the polluters.
Okay, yeah.
Right? But again, this is state policy that is responding to what the big landowners want. It's not the other way around.
Well, I guess that's what I meant about like the government tempting like people to do certain things or entities to do certain things. Like fines are like, I guess that's like an anti-temptation thing or whatever. Like but there's like incentives and a lot of like neoliberal policy is about like
trying to incentivize
good behavior.
Rather than mandating it. Encourage it.
Yeah.
Which, looking at agriculture that's the entirety of like state policy is we can't force them to do anything. We can just sort of like encourage them to do the right thing. But yeah, it really seems like he's got the like cause and effect backwards there. Like state policy changed on the water sensors because it made it look bad when the big wealthy landowners were dumping whatever they wanted in the water. They're not like we're not tempting them into now doing whatever they want because the sensors are gone. They were already doing whatever they want.
Yeah, for sure. Like
they have more power than the state does.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, Democrats are completely captured too. Like, it's fucked up.
This last little bit is about Rob Sand's higher aspirations. I don't know. Did you read this part?
No.
So he was asked on Iowa Press if his 99 county tour is a soft launch for maybe a governor run. This is Rob. We've hit a new high watermark for accessibility for a statewide official. He's talking about himself, right?
Yeah.
I'm the most accessible guy.
Chuck Grassley disagrees, but okay.
We announced all 100 stops the same day. So there are cities that we are not and counties that we are not going to until July, August, September, October. You can look them up right now at auditor.iowa.gov/townhall. You can find out when I'm going to be in your county. Oh, I guess I should probably look at that. This is a public service. I want to represent everybody. This is where it gets very self-important, at least when I was briefly scanning it. I was thinking about this the other day, actually. I realized to me there is a piece of this that is very much faith-based. My faith is really important to me, and I worship a guy who made a point.
A guy? Uh-oh.
Who made a point to spend time with the people that nobody else thought was worth spending time with. And that, to me, too, is public service. You are supposed to be accessible to everyone. You are supposed to be available to everyone. I'm looking for new ways to do that. It's hard to plan all 100 of these in advance and announce them the same day, but I want people in Iowa to know I'll talk to you. Not always the case.
Open invite to the pod. Still on.
Oh, right. You did have your, you had like some sort of publicist email us and then declined to come on the show. Remember that?
I forgot about that, but that's funny.
I forgot about it till you said, yeah. You want something you want to ask me about. You want something you want to yell at me about. Here I am. This is when I'm going to be there. I think that's important. Okay, open invitation to yell at him. All right.
Oh, okay.
Again, that's auditor.iowa.gov/townhall. See when State Auditor Rob Sand is coming to your neighborhood. He says you can yell at him.
We have a friend who ran into Rob Sand in real life.
And yelled at him?
And yelled at him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if his wife agrees with all of what he's saying here.
Right. So comparing himself to Jesus.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He is godlike, turning the other cheek.
And the image of Jesus Christ hanging out with the downtrodden in society. Mm-hmm. And who are we talking about there? We're talking about thieves. Sex workers. There were like racial minorities in society at that time too that we're talking about also. Second class citizens, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And who is he talking about? He's talking about car dealership owners.
Yeah.
Like, he's saying that he talks to Republicans.
Yeah,
Republicans who are downtrodden in society. No one's listening to them. I don't know if that's really what he's saying, but I know that that's part of his public image. Is like,
yeah. I mean, that's all. This is like, yeah, he's not going to like give you the time of day on like if you were to ask him about Gaza.
Yeah, like his,
which I mean, whatever he is, I guess he doesn't really have to
have
an opinion about that, but he kind of does.
He's enforced BDS laws here.
You're right. Yeah, I completely forgot about that part. Yeah.
He's given public statements about Israel being our greatest ally.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Jesus fucking Christ. Like,
it's not something that he just doesn't weigh in on. Like he has.
Yeah, but you're right. It's 100% just like, even if you're not going to vote for me, like, I'll still be your guy. I'll be anything to anyone at any time.
Yeah. I worship a guy, and you all should consider worshiping a guy as well. A guy like me.
I worship a woman. All right?
That's what feminism's all about.
Rob is pretty good. This is one of the comments here.
Yeah, Bleeding Heartland comments are always fun.
Yeah. I was now redder than Texas, according to Prairie Fan.
Maybe.
Maybe.
It's probably because it's whiter than Texas.
Yeah, I would say so.
Not wide, but white.
Yes. Oh, boy.
Okay, yeah, what else should we talk about? I kind of wanted to get into the Tim Walz stuff.
Yeah.
So Kamala Harris has selected Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate.
Is it Walz or Waltz?
I think it's Walz.
Okay.
But I'm inclined to say Waltz also.
Yeah.
Like the hard Z.
Because, yeah, that sounds like a very German
thing. Yeah. And you can imagine him doing a little dance. Okay, so this is being portrayed by both sort of mainstream political parties as this. He's like the most progressive choice she could have made, right? Which in context, sure.
Of the people, the slim list of people that she was going to choose from.
Right.
Possibly.
Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, Andy Beshear, we already talked about, governor of Kentucky, or Tim Walz of Minnesota.
Or Mark Kelly, the astronaut.
Oh, right. I forgot he
Gabby
was
Gifford's
in the list
husband.
too. Right. Just bald spaceman, right?
Yeah.
I don't really know anything about his politics, to be honest.
Yeah, they're not good. He was anti-Pro Act, and they were like, that was kind of like a big thing, that one of the reasons maybe that he didn't get chosen.
Well, that's good.
Which is good.
Yeah. So, again, in that context, yes, this is probably strategically the best, probably for her electoral purposes. I don't think that they chose him for
anything to do with politics, other than maybe like Shapiro having baggage about Israel. Like, maybe. But, like, do they care about that in any other aspect? Like, no, not really.
Okay,
so
let's get into
it's more that
article
Walz
then.
is just, like,
for the
like, the best with the media.
Right. He's like,
affable.
charismatic on the news, you know, and we can talk more about, like, his history. But this is, like, the line that a lot of Republicans are using to criticize this choice. And our state GOP chair is no exception. This is the Gazette. Iowa GOP chair calls it blatantly anti-Semitic for Kamala Harris to pick Tim Walz as running mate during Cedar Rapids event. So we're talking about Jeff Kaufman, Iowa's Dr. Robotnik. And, I want to give credit. Marissa Payne at the Gazette wrote this. Iowa Republicans are hammering Vice President Kamala Harris and her selection of Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate for the White House, lambasting them as radicals whose policies threaten the nation should voters fail to elect Donald Trump to a second term in November. Jeff Kaufman, Iowa Republican chairman, speaking Tuesday, said the selection of Walz instead of Josh Shapiro was blatantly anti-Semitic and that Democratic activists pushed back on having a Jewish American vice presidential nominee. And this is a quote from Jeff Kaufman. There's a reason why Kamala Harris didn't make the most obvious choice for running mate. The brightest choice you could have made was to name the governor of Pennsylvania. Make no bones about it. That's why he was not named. And the Republican in me is happy about that because Tim Walz is easier. But my Lord, think about that. The story behind all of that is as blatantly anti-Semitic as anything you could ever see or think about.
See or think about.
Yeah, not choosing the Jewish guy is anti-Semitic.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it is. Yeah, if you've got a Jewish guy who you could consider, then he's got to be the guy.
Left famously never had any Jewish candidates that they supported. Like,
Right. And, other people have made this point. Her husband is also Jewish. Kamala Harris's husband. So,
see, back in the day, Al Gore chose Joseph Lieberman to be his running mate because he was Jewish and not for any other reason. And we've changed that now, and now we're choosing people because they're not Jewish.
Yeah, it's
actually
very
fucked up.
It's not anti-Semitic at all for me to think that if a Jewish person is or is not on a ticket, it's because they're Jewish. That's the only thing about them to consider is whether they're Jewish or not. I'm not anti-Semitic.
J.D. Vance
you are.
is a practicing Jew.
Oh, is that right?
He converted to Catholicism, and then he converted to Judaism.
Interesting.
When he became the nominee. He married... It's very complicated. Yeah. He has a second family.
Republicans, including Trump's vice presidential pick, J.D. Vance of Ohio, have united to suggest the progressive wing of the Democratic Party wouldn't support a Jewish running mate, capitalizing on the party's divisions over the Israel-Hamas war to appeal to Jewish voters.
Ugh.
Okay. So, on the other hand, they did not select Josh Shapiro, partly because of probably some of his statements on Palestinians that came out
and the protesters
and the murder thing, about
I have vaguely seen people referring to this. I have no idea. There was like some sexual harassment, but I don't know if it was like like him covering up.
I don't know the details, but I definitely have heard about that.
I think it was
a
cover-up situation, but
yeah. And the murder thing is like something was ruled a suicide, and he like intervened to have it not be reconsidered. The details are out there if you want them. But the point is that if this is like what's animating the Democratic Party to make these choices, that is the only choice that they have made.
Yeah.
That indicates that they are willing to even consider any sort of like criticism of Israel.
Yeah.
Because everything else they're doing is full steam ahead. Nothing has changed in like America's role in the genocide, and Kamala Harris herself has not.
And nothing will change.
Right.
Kamala Harris, like, it's insane. Like, I understand why people are excited about it because no one wants Trump to be president again. But it's wild to see people act like she's like going to be materially better.
She hasn't contradicted anything.
No, yeah. I mean, I guess it's possible, but there's really nothing to fucking indicate that at all.
Right. And okay, so I don't remember if it's actually in this article or not, but Tim Walz is not meaningfully different on this issue either.
No.
And you can go back to 2020. He was the governor when the George Floyd protests were happening, and he brought in the National Guard to shut
and Trump
people down.
Praised him and said he was a good guy.
Like, and he hasn't been supportive of any pro-Hamas protesters either.
No. I mean, he's good with the media. He gave a good quote about like the uncommitted voters back before he was vice presidential candidate. That was basically like, oh yeah, we have to like listen to these people. He did say the situation is intolerable, which it absolutely is. And then basically like, we have to like bring these people back into the party. But like, again, they're not doing literally anything to do that. So
right.
They're not going to talk about that again. They're not going to make any open overtures to people who are upset about what's happening. Like, I would be shocked.
Yeah.
I mean, Kamala got protested once and then was like, I'm speaking. And then the other time,
bringing back one of her really charming mannerisms. Yeah.
But then the second time it happened again in Arizona, and she's like, I want a ceasefire too.
Oh, okay.
But what their idea of a ceasefire is like whatever fucking political agreement that they can come to that allows them to still continue selling weapons to Israel. Like that's like any ceasefire like that people are talking about as from like an activist level is about stopping the flow of weapons. Right. And they're not going to do that. That's because that's contrary to the whole reason why we're fucking supporting Israel, the whole relationship between the United States and Israel.
Yeah. There's only one side of this. I'm putting this heavy quotes around this conflict. There's only one side of this conflict that is still firing.
Yeah.
A ceasefire, like one side isn't fucking doing anything.
Yeah.
They don't have the resources to be firing back at this point.
It's horrific.
Yeah, I mean, a ceasefire is nothing at this point. They've already decimated the population. I did like how the Gazette phrased this. They go into some context how like there's other factors to why they wouldn't have selected Josh Shapiro. It's not just because he's Jewish. And it says still, Kaufman told the Gazette after the event at the Cedar Rapids Country Club he absolutely stood by his anti-Semitic remarks, suggesting that what he said is anti-Semitic.
Yeah,
that's not what they meant, I don't think, but I do think that what he said is also anti-Semitic, right?
I would think so, but definition on that has been massaged in a lot of different directions.
Yeah, let's real quick Google the officially accepted definition of anti-Semitism. I know that our state has adopted that definition, right?
Yeah,
as a matter of law. So
I heard Trump also, according to whatever sources, said that he thought that Shapiro would have been the better pick. Which, I mean, obviously the Democrats should be doing what the Republicans think that they should. Obviously that's exactly what they should have done. But
yeah, they've got opinions from other prominent Republicans in here as well. We should check these out. And this is with a little bit of context that GovTrack decided that Kamala Harris was the most liberal of all senators in 2019. The leftmost senator. And I don't know how they determine that or like what that's based on, but if you recall, like early in her presidential campaign in 2020, it seemed like that was how she was trying to portray herself.
She lied about being in favor of Medicare for all. Mm-hmm. Immediately backtracked on it. She really hit Biden good on the racist anti-busing stuff.
Right.
She could have been that little girl.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would guess that her senatorial career was also part of building that image for herself.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So here's a quote from another senator, Chuck Grassley. I know her to be the most liberal of the United States Senate. So I think by picking Governor Walz that she's picked somebody that she's going to be very comfortable with and a person that has the same progressive agenda that she has. Grassley pointed to a bill Walz signed into law last year that Grassley said gives driver's licenses to people who illegally entered the country. The law allows all residents to apply for a driver's license, regardless of immigration status. And Grassley's message to Trump would be, when you can get $10,000 a second being on Fox News, you shouldn't spend 15 minutes talking about what's wrong with Governor Kemp of Georgia. You should be talking about the issues. What?
Well, yeah, apparently Trump...
Why is this here?
Did the Gazette just fuck up? Like, what is it? Did they even... Yeah, what the fuck is this?
Here's another thing Chuck Grassley said.
Yeah, I mean, Trump has been fucking wilding out. He did... I saw someone say something about that. I don't know what he said about Brian Kemp, but yeah, the Republican high rollers are saying, you're blowing this. And he's saying, fuck it, I'm gonna burn this whole shit down. as you'd expect. I mean,
yeah.
He doesn't give a fuck what you have to say. You're gonna keep giving him money, like Sheldon Adelson's fucking widow or whatever.
They have some stuff from Terry Branstad here, but he's really boring. He just loves ethanol. Yeah. He's not doing anything except shilling ethanol these days, so let's skip that. Ashley Hinson, though, she is nuts. So let's see what she said about this. She criticized Walz for enacting a law that she said allows kids to be taken away from parents if they do not consent to gender reassigning surgery or hormone therapy. Minnesota is a sanctuary state for transgender and non-binary people, meaning it protects access to gender-affirming care for residents and does not enforce penalties related to gender-affirming care from other states.
Great. That's awesome.
So they're coming. If you don't want your kid to be trans, the National Guard's going to show up to your house, put you in cuffs, take your kid away. That's how things are going in Minnesota. That's what it means. If you think that if you protect access to gender affirming care for your residents, that's what it means. It means that your kids will be taken away.
And this is like a really popular thing, apparently. Yeah, there's no pivot to the, like they used to talk about, Trump's going to pivot to the general.
Uh-huh.
Sure.
Yeah, no, they have not.
They have not. They're weird. Tim Walz was right. They're weird.
Yeah. Strategically, that is good. That's why he's a good choice, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And at least, I mean, like, if you're going to be optimistic about it, like, about him and Kamala is like, at least they might be more open to listen to left-wing voices or activists than Biden was. But that's a big maybe, but at least see, like Tim Walz was, a congressional, representative.
Yeah.
And he was like a centrist. Like he wasn't really that progressive. And then when he became governor, they happened to win like all trifecta control. And then the legislature passed a bunch of shit and he signed it.
Right.
And then he took all the credit for it, which is good. It's good that he signed it. It's good that he's willing to sign it because there's a lot of governors who are going to veto shit that might make them
like in California,
be
for
open.
example.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, that's a silver lining. But.
Yeah. I thought you were falling for some liberal bullshit, but you've got he sees how doing this stuff can reflect well upon him. Yeah.
Did he do it for altruistic reasons? Like, probably not.
No. But okay.
I'm too cynical to accept that.
More from Ashley Hinson, our craziest member of Congress. The bill she was talking about, the trans kids thing. The bill Walz signed grants Minnesota temporary emergency jurisdiction over custody disputes in cases when a child is unable to access gender-affirming care, such as if a parent seeks to relocate a transgender child to a state that would block their medication. So what's being described there is child abuse.
Yeah. Like, what the fuck?
It is a kid coming out to their parents and being abused in response, and the state treating that as child abuse. Yeah, makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. But this is what she says. That was wild to me as a parent to young boys, Hinson said. Boys for now.
Your boys aren't safe. That's what they're upset about. Your boys aren't safe.
They may not.
Girls might not be safe either.
You know the old axiom, boys will be boys.
Yeah.
That's not always true anymore. Sometimes boys stop being boys.
Yeah. Turns out there's really not that much that separates a boy from a girl.
That's what they're really afraid of, I think, is that it's too easy to change your presentation and how others perceive you.
Because that makes them have to reflect about what that means for them and their gender identity, I think. I mean, that might be a little psychosocial.
Psychosocial. Yeah, I think that the self is part of it, like how you've been restricting the way you think of yourself and the way you present yourself to the world. But I think it's also the way that they perceive others is it dominates their thoughts.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Like they want everybody that they see to conform to the categories that they have in their minds, I think.
For sure.
And for those lines to be
clear. Yeah. They just want things to be black and white, which is really with like most things that they are about anyway. Like it's an unraveling of society for it to be possible to not be 100% masculine or 100% feminine, to do kind of whatever you want. It's anarchy. Yeah.
More from Hinson. I think it's completely reckless and irresponsible, and we do not allow that kind of madness under the Harris-Walz agenda to make its way into the White House. Something I haven't mentioned yet is that there was like a New York Times profile of Tim Walz, and it kind of went into his background and how, he's from Nebraska also.
Yeah,
that's
and
interesting.
He's addicted to that Dreamcast.
That's where I was going, yeah.
Yeah.
So his family moved to Minnesota. He became a high school teacher, and he was coaching football. And I did not expect to see this in the New York Times in 2024. In order to relate to the football players, he was telling them about his home life. And his wife confiscated his Dreamcast because he couldn't stop playing.
Yeah. He was playing the fishing minigame in Sonic Adventure.
Yes. He was working on the big storyline, the cat, yeah.
He knew that was going to boost his credentials like 20 years later.
With me.
Yeah, with you.
Yeah.
But I mean, doing the fishing minigame, that's like a real man's activity. Like, that's something that you can, I mean, there's pictures of him out hunting with his dog too. Like, he's really, I don't know if the like super left-wing progressive, attack is really going to hit for the elusive swing voters of the United States.
Yeah, they're really
because he really does. He's a football coach. Like their only attack is he was a defensive coordinator and he took credit by saying that he was a football coach. Well, I'm sorry, defensive coordinator is like the second or third most important role.
It's stolen coach valor.
Yeah, and then the stolen valor.
But they're also accusing him of real stolen valor, right?
Yes.
I don't really know what's going on with that.
So he had said, I mean, he didn't deploy, and he retired in 2005. And there was a rumor, apparently, that his unit was going to deploy to Iraq, and that he got out before that happens, which that's not how it works. You have to submit your resignation letter or whatever, and then they have to approve it. You can't just oh, I'm about to go to war, so I'm not gonna go because I don't want to get shot.
Thank you very much, Army, but this is a little too far for me.
And then he was talking about,
right? I can just walk away.
Yeah, they don't have any AWOL. You don't go to military prison for that. Anyway, yeah, and then he said that in the context of gun control reforms, said that he carried weapons of war or something like that.
Okay.
And then so they're trying to twist that to say that he actually said that he was in war. And yeah, I guess he just misspoke.
Do you think that matters still?
No.
Because that was a big thing with John Kerry, right?
Yeah.
The Swift boat thing or whatever. It's fake Purple Heart.
Yeah. I've seen a bunch of there's a whole brand of lib military guys now. And they look exactly you wouldn't. They look like a fucking Black Rifle Coffee spokesperson.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But they're on TikTok saying how fucking dare these Republicans say that Tim Walz fucking stole valor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you fucking scumbag pieces of shit, MAGA.
Wow.
It's awesome.
Wow. The culture is shifting.
The culture is shifting.
Yeah.
Nick Fuentes has denounced Trump and apparently is plotting against him a fucking secret racism layer.
Also sort of I saw something about a Groiper war.
Yeah, Groiper war.
Groiper war.
Declared holy Groiper war from his racism cave.
Oh boy. It really is becoming a normal versus weird election more than anything.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of goofy at first, but I don't know. It seems kind of...
Well, yeah.
That's what it comes down to now.
Yeah, I don't know. Just been scrambling.
Yeah. I had another Bleeding Heartland article, but I kind of don't care about it. Yeah, I think we've talked enough about the anti-Semitic accusation for choosing Tim Walz. But yeah, there is a Bleeding Heartland article by a former rabbi, Rabbi Emeritus, Henry J. Karp, who says that this is kind of just ridiculous. I've read other stuff by this guy, and he's a Zionist, he's very pro-Israel. So not a guy whose opinion I, closely align with, but it's whatever, interesting enough. He's just saying do you think Jeff Kaufman really fucking cares about anti-Semitism?
Absolutely not.
That's kind of what the article is.
God damn.
Yeah. So that's kind of,
well, yeah. And then the JD Vance stuff is he's in those group chats with people who are saying some god awful, Nick Fuentes shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? Since I talked enough about it, I'll read a little bit of this. So this is the Henry J. Karp article in Bleeding Heartland. Personally, I favored Shapiro not because he is Jewish and a Zionist, but primarily because, with his 61% approval rating in Pennsylvania, he could deliver to the campaign his extremely important swing state. As for the others considered for the vice presidential slot, everyone on Harris's long list, and even more so for those on her short list, would have been excellent choices. So,
yeah, that's a stupid, I don't, that's such a silly thing. If we get the Pennsylvania guy, then we'll win this one state that we need. Just choose the best guy, which they did. But and she's ahead apparently in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania now, according to whatever last poll I saw. But yeah, it seems like a pretty no-brainer pick.
That's sort of very simplistic analysis. If we choose the Pennsylvania governor, we'll obviously win Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah.
Andy Beshear was considered as well, and he's a Democrat governor of Kentucky. Does that mean Kentucky would go blue?
Yeah.
Probably not,
no.
Right? It's not that easy.
And I think Pennsylvania probably would have, well, whatever. I don't want to make any predictions. Fuck that.
I think Pennsylvania is going for Chase Oliver.
Yeah.
When Harris, this is more from Henry J. Karp, when Harris chose Walz over Shapiro, whatever disappointment I experienced was overshadowed by my confidence that she chose the person who was the best fit for both the campaign and the office of vice president. As for Jeff Kaufman and his denunciations, I doubt he cares much about protecting the American Jewish community. Rather, he cares more about protecting the MAGA wing of the Republican Party. After cheering on the Iowa legislature's passage of some despicable laws, including those that are racist or harm LGBTQ people, immigrants, reproductive rights, and public education, he has forfeited any credentials as a spokesperson for the rights of marginalized groups or against hateful speech and acts in our state. So it's nice to see that there are some people not falling for this shit. Oh, this is actually what I really wanted to read from this. I forgot this was in here. In fact, all three of the finalists for running mate, Walz, Shapiro, and Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, support Israel's rights to exist and to defend itself against enemies seeking its destruction. All three supported police intervention during anti-Israel protests on some college campuses when those protests were no longer peaceful, but resorted to harassment and intimidation of Jewish students, as well as acts of violence and destruction. This is what I thought was really valuable in this. This is a guy who is very pro-Israel, is fine with the selection of Tim Walz, and outright says here, all these guys are the same on this issue.
Yeah.
So this is valuable from Henry J. Karp, and I appreciate him putting this in print.
Yep.
To those of, I assume that most of our listening audience is opposed to the genocide and opposed to Israel. Not the kind of person who would say that I believe Israel has a right to exist and defend itself. Okay? But I would also imagine that there are some people who listen to our show who are, if not excited to vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, at least like more excited,
more open to it than voting for
Biden.
Fucking Biden,
and willing to delude themselves that this is like a change in our country's position, on what Israel's doing. It's not.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's funny to just read the Kamala Harris tea leaves because there's like really not much to go on as far as like what she would actually be like as at the top, of the ticket. Like, I don't know. She's a chameleon. Like,
yeah, which is probably smart.
I mean, and you're right. I'm sure it's like, yeah, she's a standard ass Democrat. That's why she was chosen as Biden's vice president.
Right. Sort of a blank slate in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But
someone who's going to toe the party line.
Yeah, someone who's a lot younger than him, has some energy behind her.
Yeah.
Somebody who can whip people up into a let's vote for Democrats frenzy. And it might work. It seems like it's kind of working right now.
More effective than whatever Biden. I mean, literally nothing. Biden just fucking sitting in his chair in his basement.
Yeah. R.I.P. Okay, let's get into the real fun thing. This is the last thing I had for us today. This is a Gazette opinion piece, not by Althea Cole. We're not going back to that one yet. But this is by another of their columnists, David Chung. Okay? And this is about a subject that I'm sure a lot of us have been on both sides of this, the giving and the receiving end. David Chung's piece is called, I Used to Be a Waiter, But I Am So Done with Tipping.
Well, let's hear from a current waiter. All right?
Okay, so I think we can have fun with this article. This is David Chung. Last week, my wife and I had a great meal of mussels and fries on the terrace at a quaint little seaside restaurant. The food and service were both excellent, and it was wonderful to listen to the seabirds and smell the salt air. As we finished our meal, we got up to enjoy a nice walk along the sea wall. But we did not leave a tip.
Oh my God.
That's
brave. This is ultimate act of bravery.
He's telling the world that he didn't tip. You may be wondering just what kind of jerk I am. I told you that the food and service were both excellent, which ought to be worth at least a 20% tip. How much do you tip, Evan, typically?
At least 20%.
Yeah, I try to at least do 20.
Yeah.
And then I usually probably round up to the nearest whole dollar.
Yeah.
In most cases, just to make the math easy. Or if they have a button, I just hit the 20 button.
Yeah.
Well, you, dear reader, may disagree, but I am not a jerk. The reason I didn't leave a tip is because the restaurant was in France.
Oh, shit.
It's like some kind of riddle. And he got us. My wife and I are house sitting for an in-law in Calais, France on the English Channel. All right, now everything you've heard from,
good for you,
about David Chung's life Is this a guy who should or should not be tipping?
I'm going to say should.
It sounds like you can afford to tip, regardless of any of this. I remember my first trip to France in high school. It was 1978, and one of the phrases that my French teacher drilled into me was, "Est-ce que le service est compris?" It's the best I can do with. I took a year of French in college.
Did?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think just 1 year. I think that's what I did. In English, that means, is the service included? At the time, some French restaurants included the service in their pricing, so tips were not required. In the 1980s, France passed laws that essentially made tipping obsolete. In France, servers are paid a decent wage and good service is expected at restaurants.
Sounds good.
Since then,
that sounds ideal. I mean, good wage. They do a good job.
Yeah. I mean, I think one side of that equation is more important than the other.
Right.
Good service is expected. It's these snooty French. Since then, across almost a dozen trips, and from sidewalk cafes to Michelin-starred restaurants, I've stopped tipping altogether. I think you, literally can't. In France. I don't know if... I guess you could just leave money on the table, but yeah. It's just not even part of the culture anymore.
Yeah.
Of course, it is different in the United States. In the United States, servers are paid a lower wage, and the expectation is that tips will make up the remainder of their income. Here in the States, I am generally a good tipper.
Oh. Generally a good tipper. So, is he one of those guys who puts the bills on the table and then takes them away if there's bad service?
Every minute I wait for my water refill, one of these dollars goes away. In a restaurant, I almost always leave at least 20%.
He's leaving a lot of wiggle room here.
I know. You are opening yourself up to being talked about on a podcast. I've been a restaurant server myself, not just as a part-time job, but as a full-time job while raising a young family. So I know what it is like to make my living from tips. But recently, tipping has gotten out of hand. Electronic payment systems are asking for tips in places where most of us would not have tipped before. This is a travesty. Have you experienced this where, you're asked to leave a tip somewhere where you hadn't considered tipping before?
Yeah.
How do you feel in that?
I mean, I would have tipped anyway. The example I'm thinking of is getting a haircut.
Okay. He gets to that.
Which 100%.
That's in
you should tip.
Yeah.
But now they have the little button you can press to auto tip.
Right. Well, yeah, I think what he doesn't realize, I may be getting ahead of him a little bit here, but I think what he doesn't realize is that other people were tipping.
Yeah.
and by putting that little button on the thing, you now realize that maybe
also,
you should have been.
People outside of food service also get poor wages. It's not just food service workers who are needing the extra income.
It's actually almost everyone.
Yeah.
The person who scoops your ice cream.
It's a restaurant.
Sounds like a server to me.
Is a restaurant. Jesus.
The service that mows my lawn.
Oh, okay.
That's
I don't know. I've never had such a thing. That's crazy to me.
But that's the thing. That's the thing. It's who can afford landscaping services?
Yeah.
But gets mad when asked to tip or given the opportunity to tip. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that they're not rude about it. It's just a little thing that pops up.
Yeah.
Even the buffet restaurant where there are no servers and you have no contact with the bussers are asking for tips.
Are there buffets?
What kind of place is this?
I have not been to a buffet in a decade. They've died out. I mean, there's some. I guess there's the Chinese buffets still.
Sure,
but that's really the only.
It's not a common.
It's not a common thing anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's some ethnic restaurants that do sell Indian restaurants and stuff that have.
Indian lunch buffets.
Lunch buffet
still popular. Yeah. But yeah, what's he describing here? This sounds like a fully automated restaurant where you come in, you just slop it onto your plate. You never have to interact with a human being, and still they want tips.
See, the buffets that I used to go to was Bishop's in Cedar Rapids, and I remember there was always a guy there, and he was handing out baked fish, and he'd be like, "Nothing could be finer. Nothing could be finer," and that really enhanced my meal, and I would tip that guy heavily.
Oh, yeah.
And one time I dropped my whole tray of food because I was a little kid with eyes bigger than my stomach. And then they had to clean it up for me. And they're like, oh, it's no problem. And I was like, I told my parents you got to tip at least 20%. Back in the day, it's probably more like 15.
Yeah.
But
in many cases, an employee hands you a device or turns a screen in your direction so they can see whether you leave a tip.
oh, like they're not going to know anyway. I mean, like,
they could see it before.
You don't
also.
like the fact that people are seeing that you're not tipping. Like, this is what you're upset about.
Yeah. I mean, we live in this like system where like we have to tip. Like the responsibility has been shifted from the business owner to the customer, right? And some people, we need to like reinstill shame in the people whose responsibility it is to like help these people make a living. And it's not fair.
It's like, not fair. Yeah. I mean, the French system is objectively better.
Right. It's not fair. But like, if you are not feeling that shame, like that's bad for the workers. Like you got to have a little bit of social pressure to do it. Even the tip amount is getting out of hand. The place that cuts my hair has a payment system that places the default amount tip at 20%.
Oh my God. The default?
And notice he does not say what kind of like barber this is. It defaults to 20. And they see me change it to 10. I'm so done with tipping. I am still a good tipper in sit-down restaurants where a server interacts directly with me. I know that the server is receiving a lower wage and making up the difference in tips. But I will not tip.
Oh my God, this sentence.
This list of people he won't tip is so
crazy.
I will not tip counter service, hotel housekeeping staff, or any others who do not receive that lower wage.
Hotel housekeeping staff. Like, those people make, like, barely above minimum wage, if that.
Tipping housekeeping is not new.
And it's also not new. It's not new, but it's just so funny to say these people do not receive like, they don't receive the pre-tip wage or whatever the fuck, like $4, ridiculous.
Yeah. And you know, this is that's an industry that's very much about like, taking advantage of immigrants.
Absolutely.
You know, like people who are getting paid cash under the table so that they don't get deported. Yeah. They don't need your money. They don't need it. It's not fair for you to be asked to pay a little more to these people. And I scrolled back to the top of this because I just wanted to recall that this started with a nice little trip to France that he and his wife were on. And he mentioned, how many was it? Almost a dozen trips to France over like 40 years. So whatever. It's not like he's going there a lot. But, you know, this is a man who travels the world. And he's writing in our local newspaper, I refuse to tip housekeeping staff. How many hotels has this guy stayed at in his life where he's like, I'm not giving you any fucking money?
Yeah.
And proudly writing about it in the Gazette.
Clean up my treats. Clean up my disgusting bed.
It's their job. It's their job to clean up all the mess I make. I appreciate the idea of reducing taxes for anyone. Wow.
Okay.
But the Republican,
especially myself.
But the Republican plan backed by President Donald Trump to make tips tax exempt is not a real solution. Okay, I thought we were talking about how you don't want to tip, and now you're trying to act like this is you have more to say than just I'm so inconvenienced. But no, he's talking about policy here. In many restaurants without tip sharing policies, servers are often among the highest paid employees.
I don't know. I worked as a waiter in college, but it was like for special events, and we couldn't take tips. But people would sometimes like slip like a $5 bill like under the plate.
See, and these are people who don't write opinion columns. Nice people who sneak tips to the employees.
That's right.
These are the people who go above and beyond. I mean, I can't imagine you were paid well for that job.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah. Okay, so he's saying servers are often among the highest paid employees. Well, no, because like their wage is intentionally below minimum wage because of the tips. I don't know, man. You know who's the highest paid person? Is the person who owns the restaurant.
Yeah.
Probably owns a bunch of restaurants, probably never comes in. Only comes in once a month to yell at people that it's not clean enough.
Giving them a break that doesn't also apply to bussers or hosts seems odd. This proposal seems like the Republican equivalent of student loan forgiveness, a strategic, albeit cynical, attempt to win votes in the upcoming elections.
Okay, that's, not accurate, but okay. It's entirely cynical.
Yeah.
No, it's not like it's like an economic, like, incentive, or, like, not incentive, but it's a stimulus program. People don't just pay their stupid student loans for something that they should get for free anyway. Then they spend their money elsewhere. Like, that's good. It's actually good for...
I guess he's saying that student loan forgiveness is bad.
Yeah, he is.
I guess he's coming out against another thing that helps people with less than him.
Mm-hmm.
Let the consumers pay what services are worth, and let employees choose what wages they will accept to do a job. It is time to end tipping culture in the United States. Signed, David Chung, Libertarian. He doesn't say that, but I mean, let employees choose what wages they will accept to do a job. That's a very libertarian thing to say.
It is, yeah.
If you don't like the wage, you negotiate with the boss, and he'll give you a higher wage if you just have a honest conversation.
Yeah. This guy should work in a restaurant. He should give it a try. Don't
yeah, we know he's got experience, right?
Yeah.
Just step back in there and maybe get some real world 21st century restaurant experience. See what you think about tips then. Or maybe try a little bit of hotel housekeeping. See how they pay you there.
Oh, he's an editorial fellow.
Okay, I guess that's
I've never seen that
What's
before.
the difference?
I think it means he's chilling in French most of the time, probably.
Mr. French.
Probably doesn't have time to write too many articles.
Right, so this is not like a weekly column guy. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that article would be pretty fun. Tip, you got to tip. It's just the way it is right now.
Yeah, it's not a great system, but
if you
can afford to go out, again,
if you're relying on somebody else to like do something for you, you got to pay for it.
Yeah.
It's the way it is. If you don't want to tip, cut your own damn hair. Clean your own room.
Right. Make your own food.
Yeah. I'm weird about, I don't go to hotels very often, obviously, but I'm very weird about like the housekeeping thing. Like I put the do not disturb thing up and I'm just don't come in.
Well, I mean, I don't
just clean it up when I leave.
If I were to stay at a hotel for a long time, which we don't have the option to
like
do
a couple times in my life.
I could, but like I'm not typically staying at hotels for long periods of time.
Right.
But if I were, then I would definitely tip. And if I'm only staying for a couple of days, I definitely put the do not disturb up. I don't really want to be barged in. Actually, I did get barged in a hotel when I was like in my boxers. It was pretty fun. Did
it lead to any like exciting adventures or no?
Nope. I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah. We already mentioned the libertarian ballot access, right? We're hoping we'll run into some libertarian candidates tomorrow and we can pick their brains about that maybe. But yeah, maybe for now we wrap it up and then if we're lucky, we'll record some fun stuff at the fair tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Yeah. If you would like to give us a call, if you have thoughts about tipping, if you work in the service industry and you have, this could be good. If you got stories about people like David Chung who maybe
that's a good one.
If you have served David Chung in a restaurant, I doubt that that's happened, but he writes for the Gazette, so it's possible that someone we know has served him in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Seen what kind of service he expects.
Yeah.
And
people are fucking weird about not only tipping, but the expectations that they place on servers.
Yeah.
Or anyone doing anything for them in general. But
I'm giving you 20%.
Yeah.
So
like,
you gotta,
like,
if you cross me,
you're only hurting yourself.
Yeah. When I'm in a situation where I'm like being served in any way, first of all, you should be extremely uncomfortable to be served.
Yeah.
But your goal should be basically just exist as little as possible to the service staff. Like, I'm with you. I'm one of you guys. Like, I will take care of my own shit. Like, I basically don't want you to have to even talk to me. Because I know that's what I would want in that kind of job. Like, when I worked at the pizza place, I don't want to answer these phones.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten like a substandard meal and not said anything about it?
Yeah.
Me too.
Of course.
And it's like, if it's a place I like, I've been to before, then I just won't order that again. But I won't like take it back. Yeah, have them take it back or remake it or anything.
You can give me the wrong thing. Give me something I didn't order. I don't give a shit.
That's happened before too. Like, come on.
Like, I don't care. Like, I have some empathy. They are you, and you are them. If you get the wrong food, just shut up and eat it. You got some food at a restaurant. That's pretty much what you were going for, is some food at a restaurant. Anyway, if you have thoughts on this subject or experiences you'd like to tell us about, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone number is 319-849-8733. And, shit, we got a P.O. box. You can write it down and send us your story that way. P.O. Box 5336 in Coralville, Iowa, 52241. I mean, really, that should be for, like, sending, like, a weird book you found.
Yeah.
If you really want to write us a story, just email it. rockhardcaucus@gmail.com is the quickest way to reach us that way. If you have money, if you're like the kind of person who tips 25%, something like that, that means you have money, right? So you can pay for this podcast.
Yeah. 25%.
We need
a free podcast.
We need to be tipped here. Patreon.com/rockhardcaucus. You can support this show and the additional weird stuff that we do on there, such as Bay Not Me Slippin', our Slipknot review series, and Speed Freak Read Speak, our Sonic the Hedgehog comic book review series, which we're recording new episodes of both this week. We'll be reviewing
the name of the album.
We Are Not Your Kind. We Are Not Your
We're
Kind.
Listening to.
That's it, right? We Are Not Your
6?
Kind.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's their 6th.
I haven't listened to it yet.
Their 6th album, not including the demo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We Are Not Your Kind. We'll be reviewing that this week by Slipknot. And Tony and I will be reviewing the new, this is a very important episode of Speed Freak Read Speak, the new hardcover by Ken Penders called The Laura Sue Chronicles Beginnings. And I don't want to spoil anything, but it's bad. And we'll tell you how bad it is.
I was talking to Tony, and he was like, oh yeah, like I'm on Twitter again. I was like, why are you back on Twitter? He's like, so I can follow Ken Penders.
Yeah, we've been paying a lot of attention to Ken recently. He was just at San Diego Comic-Con for a few days. So,
dang.
Yeah.
Is he that big of a name? Like,
no.
I didn't think so. Like, I can imagine that he's like going to draw a big panel crowd.
No, not a panel.
Not a panel. Okay, yeah. He just was there.
He's got a booth.
He was signing Archie Sonic comics.
Pretty much, yeah. He's got a booth there, and I mean, I think he probably does okay, because otherwise he wouldn't go, because that'd be fucking expensive if he wasn't making money.
There's a lot of Sonic fans out there.
Yeah, and most of them don't like him, but some people, probably are willing to at least get something signed or whatever. And we also want to plug Autonomy Iowa City. It's autonomyiowacity.org. If you are someone are in need of some sort of like pregnancy related assistance, these are the people who know how to help you out, because our state is restricting your freedoms, your reproductive freedoms. So if you need help with any of those situations, autonomyiowacity.org, or the Iowa Abortion Access Fund, which is at iowaabortionaccessfund.org as well. Two good resources in a state that is rapidly deteriorating in terms of control over your own body. And I think we're going to close out with some music from the new Early Girl EP, which is called Do I Even Cross Your Mind? We could play it now if you want to. Sure. If we want to do it live. Right? Yeah. Okay. If you are a local musician, you can send us your music to be featured. God, I'm slurring all my words. If you are a local musician, you can send us your music to be featured on the show. There is a link near the top of our website, rockhardcock.us. And again, this is Early Girl from their new EP, Do I Even Cross Your Mind? Evan, which of these 5 tracks should we do?
Straight with an 8.
I do like that one.
That's the coolest title.
I think that's my favorite from this. But yeah, that's it. Check out earlygirl.bandcamp.com. I really enjoy this. I also interviewed this band a few months ago on I Hear I See Radio, so go listen to that too.
Nice.
Here's Straight by Early Girl. See you at the fair.
Was I I got to run for the press thing, but hey, I'm Lenan.
Hey, Lenan, my name's Justin.
Justin, nice to meet you.
Do you think that the U.S. should continue sending money and weapons to Israel?
I think the U.S. should make sure we support our friends in the Middle East, the only democracy that exists there, Israel, because they're constantly under threat from folks like Iran. You know, they're preparing an attack right now.
Appreciate the answer.
They got attacked first. I want to say that.